Hello, everyone. Again, in the Recursive podcast, I'm super happy to be in Bucharest again. And today I'm super excited about our next guest. He's a Frenchman who fell in love with Romania already in the 90s. Gregoire Vigroux is a serial entrepreneur, an angel investor, and a philanthropist. He has co-founded and invested in more than 25 businesses so far. 4 of them were exited. His first entrepreneurial experience started with CallPoint, which was later on acquired by TELUS International Europe, and today it employs more than 5,000 people in Bulgaria and Romania. Currently, Gregoire serves as a board member. 2 of his latest endeavors started amidst the pandemic. The first one is an online store for refurbished smartphones, bonapp.eco, which he also exited this summer. And the second one is a mobile app, bonapp.eco, which is combating food waste by allowing users to buy meals close to their expiration date from nearby grocery stores, restaurants, bakeries, cafés, and even hotels. The list of his projects and achievements is very long, but let me also just add one thing, that Gregoire is the president of the French tech community here in Bucharest, which helps Romanian startups develop internationally and also get access to the French market. Gregoire,
absolutely.
I'm very happy that you're here. Welcome.
Thank you so much for the invitation.
What I find very curious that you fell in love with Romania already in the 90s. And I haven't been in Romania back then in these early days, and I was very, very young. So I would make the comparison, I guess it was very similar to the situation in Bulgaria. I couldn't imagine what fascinated you about Romania back then, in those days.
I think I have a beautiful love story with Romania. I discovered Romania in 1991, from 1991 to 1994, being the son of an expat, a French expat, Jean-Pierre Vigroux, who still lives here in Romania. Romania in 1991 was completely different. I was coming from Paris, but it was not a cultural shock. I felt in love with Romania at that time. And even though I went back to France in 1994, I always kept Romania in my heart and in my mind. And I always said to myself, maybe I will come back. And interestingly, back in 2005, after my business school and MBA in Paris, I had my colleagues saying, I'm going to go to London, I'm going to go to New York, to the Silicon Valley, or I'm going to stay in Paris to work for a big international company, or I'm going to launch my startup here and there. And I said, you know what, guys? I'm going to go to Romania and I'm going to launch a business there. Some thought I was crazy, but you know what? It's most probably the best decision I've made in my entire business life.
I'm very happy that you didn't regret it and that you actually stayed, because since then you've been a very active member of the local tech community. But before we go to this point, I wanted to also go back to your experience. I think your first job or your career started at the embassy, more like, like a governmental job. How was it for you? I mean, being maybe an entrepreneur by heart, being also raised by an entrepreneur.
So you are very well documented, absolutely. When I came to Romania, I spent 1 year working at the French embassy. Interesting environment, but not the type of environment in which I would fit. I'm a hyperactive person. I need to be challenged every day. I need to feel some levels of adrenaline. I need, I need technology. I need challenges. And I'm afraid this type of working environment that is very well suited for some people was not suited for me. So that's why after 1 year working at the French embassy, I decided to quit in order to launch a company that was a video-on-demand company, a video-on-demand startup. I was ready with the partners. I was very ambitious. But just before I launched that, I met some amazing people, including one that you have received in your show, a very nice interview that you made with him, Xavier Marcenac, and other partners. And we decided to launch a CallPoint call center business in Romania. So Xavier and 4 other business partners. And we got very lucky because it was the right business, call center, at the right time, 2007, in the right place, Bucharest. So usually when you have the combination of best place, best location, and best timing, as long as you have a very strong founding team, as long as you have very good team members, as long as you have a good vision, then nothing can stop us, and nothing stopped us.
Was it difficult back then to sell Bulgaria and Romania as a location for the developing IT industry? I mean, that was already in 2000s. I think at this point, no one was actually talking about, startups and innovation. And the BPO sector was, it kickstarted the whole process. But I can only guess that it was difficult to sell it to customers and later on to the company that acquired you, to TELUS.
I think entrepreneurship is all about seeing opportunities. And I think we saw an opportunity. And again, it's not only myself, but we were a group of 5 founders, some of them being more senior than I am. And the positioning was very strong. We said, look, French companies would tend to outsource, to offshore their customer care operations in Morocco, in Algeria, in Tunisia. English, American companies would tend to offshore it in India, in the Philippines. So basically, different providers in different countries. And we said, you know what, we are going to offer a one-stop shop delivery solution. All the languages together with one single partner, our company CallPoint, with one single location, Sofia or Bucharest. And this is what made us successful.
How old were you back then?
27.
27. And I guess you must have been very confident to contribute on such a scale, of the business. Wow.
Yeah, we invested quite a lot of money. We borrowed money from our families, from our friends, my little brothers and my little sister. I was 27, they were much younger than I am. I said, do you have a little bit of money? So from the grandparents that gave them the bit of money since they were kids, I borrowed the money. So I took big level of risk, but entrepreneurship is all about risk, basically, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you need to like risk, and you need to be ready for the volatility, the uncertainty, and the risky life of being an entrepreneur. Of course, today my situation is much more comfortable because I already had those exits. But yes, the first business was tough, very tough, but we did it.
I remember another difficult aspect in those years, and I think unfortunately I was part of this movement. A lot of people actually left Eastern Europe, so the brain drain, when you look at the numbers, in these years in Bulgaria and Romania, was massive. So I guess, part of your mission was to keep this, talent here in the country, people who speak languages, who actually have the freedom to move around, and still convince them not to leave Bulgaria and Romania and actually to stay. What did you learn in this process?
It's one of the fights of my business life in Romania, telling the people not to leave the country. There is this habit, especially in this part of Europe, where people believe that the grass is greener outside in another country. But, with the experience of years meeting with some friends of mine, Romanians, who left the country, or former employees, in many cases, the grass was not greener in Germany, in France, in the UK, in Italy, or in Spain. Some of them came back. That's the first thing I want to say. The second thing I want to say is, if you want to change Romania for the better, don't leave. I think as a Romanian, you have a responsibility, or Bulgarian, you have a responsibility to make your country better. So the brain drain is a big problem. The people who are, some of them are higher levels of education, who leave the country, it's really too bad. So yeah. Myself, I'm not Romanian, but even though I feel more and more Romanian, maybe I will take a Romanian passport someday. I will always keep my French passport because, of course, I'm happy and proud to be French. But also a part of my heart is Romanian. My wife is Romanian. My 3 kids are French-Romanian. My life is here. I love this country. All my companies are here. Some of them in other countries, including Bulgaria as an investor. But I want to change this country for the better because. Yeah, and by the way, I will probably die here. I'm not planning on leaving, so I will probably take my retirement here
Wow. Okay,
in Romania.
that's a bold
Yeah.
step because when it comes to retirement, people tend to get a bit more conservative and then they move to Anyways,
I'm not planning on on going, and I'm not planning on going to be retired in Switzerland or in the south of France. I think I will stay here in Bucharest.
Okay, brave decision. I can't really judge for myself. I must say I was scared of this perspective as a Bulgarian at some point.
Really?
But I also moved back a couple of years ago. And when I made this decision, a lot of people looked at me like, are you crazy? I was working back then for a Swiss company. And it would have been more logical step to climb the career ladder and to, I don't know, even move to Switzerland, the sacred place for all Europeans. But exactly what you just said was, my strong motivation. At some point, I was looking at all the other immigrants in my network, and everyone was complaining about the crisis in Bulgaria and also the region. And then I was like, yeah, but if we want to change something, we need to take it in our hands. We are now becoming, grown-up people, and we're the ones who are going to take charge. So we can't just complain, we need to do something. So it was exactly this that kind of brought me back.
And I agree, and I think you made the right decision. And where was it in Switzerland that you had the opportunity to go to?
Zurich.
Zurich. Huh?
Yeah, super
One
boring.
of the best places to live according to every ranking in the world based on quality of life, hospitals, education. But at the end of the day, do you really have fun in Zurich? That would be the beautiful city, but are you really have fun?
I was already in the so-called most livable city in the world, which was Vienna.
Oh, true. Yeah, you spent some time in Vienna. Yeah.
And after 10 years, I was feeling like I missed the adrenaline, and everything is so ordered, and you can adapt somehow, try to fit in the system, but you can't.
Sure, you're not
really
going to keep
it.
this for our Austrian friends.
I will still keep it. I mean, they know how I think. In any case, I also think that was a good decision, but time will tell. What I find very curious when I speak to expats who chose Bulgaria or Romania to live, I see that they're actually the better ambassadors for the region than we Bulgarians or Romanians ourselves. And I find this very curious. Yeah. I don't know what is the mood in Romania, but in Bulgaria we often say, yeah, here everything is like in a crisis and everything is bad. And if you speak to a Frenchman or a Swiss in Bulgaria, they would like, that's actually the perfect place, of course. I mean, there are so many opportunities. There is so much you can change. Why is that? Why are
I think it's a regional thing. I mean, there is a certain level of fatalism, like really believing that really people are too hard on themselves, people are too hard on their countries, and I think it's part of the culture. That's first, and the second of all, the reason why so many expats love so much Bulgaria and Romania and other countries in the region is also because they are not exposed to the same issues as the average people. What I'm saying here is, I live in a beautiful big house on a big land. My 3 kids go at the French school. We have private healthcare. We go in the most expensive restaurants and the most expensive sports club. So my vision of Romania is ideal. Maybe if I would not be in such a comfortable, lucky life, I might have a different view on Romania, because I know that there are some big problems. I mean, hospitals might be one, education might be another. So somehow, us expats, we are the best ambassadors, but our view is biased very much by our own condition.
But on top of that, you're also an entrepreneur and an investor, and in this role, you are aiming to make a difference, to make an impact. I was wondering, having the experience as an entrepreneur and then having the experience as an investor, how do you convince the right people to join on your projects and make them believe that actually Bucharest can be the hotspot exactly, to become successful with this kind of project? Is it difficult then?
So for my partners and teams of people coming from Western Europe, it's the place to be now.
Okay.
Romania is the heart of the new Europe. It's very easy to convince French people, for example, to join me on some startup journeys here.
Wow, cool. Okay.
There is some excitement, there is some interest. That's for this category of partners and employees. But for the Romanians, something that I need to say is that I'm always constantly looking for high flyers. What I call the high flyers are the top 1% of the people that I meet that I want to have in my teams. I'm actually spending almost every day I'm meeting with new people so that I can have not a pipeline, but a list of people who are very smart, very ambitious, very dedicated, that share my value. And out of 100 people that I meet, there is one, on average, say like, this is an high flyer. And these high flyers, I'm offering them the possibility to join one of my companies as a co-founder. If they have a little bit of money to put in the business, they would do it. If they don't, no worries. And we have a few months to demonstrate that we can run a market research, that we can start a business together. And these are my business partners. They have shares in the companies. And that's really what I'm looking for, this type of high flyers. But these people need to be ambitious. They need to be dedicated. They need to be crazy. Because I believe that entrepreneurship is really a crazy game. You know, it's a bit like Squid Game. If you've seen the TV series on Netflix, to get into a Squid Game, you need to be really a bit crazy, but really to have a purpose, to have an objective. I think that when you are starting a business, you need to be really crazy, because when you are looking at the figures, 70 to 90% of the companies, startup companies that are launched in Europe, fail. You can look at whatever statistic you want, different statistics from different countries, 70 to 90. So you'll see by making some research that in Scandinavia, for example, for whatever reason, the failure rate of startups is a bit smaller. It's in the range of 70%. Surprisingly, in Eastern Europe, it's more like in the 90%. But at the end of the day, it's a very risky game. It's like the Russian roulette, you know? The Russian roulette, but there are bullets in almost all in the barrel. I like to compare entrepreneurship with the Russian roulette. I like to compare entrepreneurship also with roller coaster. Get into a roller coaster, you multiply this experience by 100, and this is how it is to launch a business. So you need to be a bit crazy. So I need to find these crazy people. But even though these people need to be crazy, they need to be very structured. They need to be very smart. They need to be very dedicated. And these are people I need to become friends with. Because I have another thing, and some people call me crazy, but I need to feel fine with the people I work with. I'm saying to myself, I'm 41 years old. Life is so short. I don't want to work with people, especially business partners, that I'm not going to have fun with, that I don't want to go out and have beers with, or to go to the restaurant. I have this luxury of having the time of choosing this kind of people I'm working with. And I have the luxury of meeting some new people every day. So I need to become friends with my business partners. Actually, the people I launched CallPoint with, you are the Xavier in the show. There is also Philippe Ugrinov, Olga Marcenac, Yann Bidon. We were a team of 5. We remained friends. I mean, we are a pack. I see really entrepreneurship as working like a pack of wolves. Because
you
when
actually
you
also invested in his latest endeavor in Secomo, right?
When Xavier Marcenac, who is an interesting public figure in Bulgaria, and is the French that has succeeded. He's great, and really, when he came to me and said, "Look, Greg, now I'm launching this new company named Nasecomo," I said, "What it is about?" It's we are producing protein out of insect. I mean, the business is absolutely incredible. First of all, it had an impact, so he knew that I was going to like it because he knows that I'm into impact projects. And second of all, Xavier. So he's part of the pack. I said, okay, I didn't ask him to look at the business plan or to have the pitch deck. I already knew that I was going to invest in his company. And vice versa, he will probably invest in some of my companies, and same with the other guys. So working as a pack is very important to me, and I do the same with bonapp.eco. I did the same with Phoenix, now named Recommerce.
Yes.
Yeah. We need to, it's a bit like we are soldiers. So we're in the middle of a battlefield, and you take some bullets. Being an entrepreneur, you take bullets every day. You take bullets because the technology, you might experience some issues, You take bullets because there is not as much traction as expected. You take bullets because there is so much pressure from everywhere. You take bullets on the battlefield, so you need to be surrounded by some brother of arms. I'm saying brothers and not sisters, because unfortunately, I don't have a business partner who is a woman yet. And that's really too bad. It's true that unfortunately, lots of tech entrepreneurs in Romania tend to be males.
We can also tap into that, but I just wanted, to wrap up. So personal relationships are obviously also at the very, base of doing business. And I was just thinking about this. People say that when you're looking for a partner, well, everyone is crazy. You're just looking for your, right type of crazy.
Exactly.
Because you were saying that. Okay.
It's like a date. I mean, it's like dating someone. I mean, you need to have even love at first sight. I mean, if I can use this metaphor, I invested in one of the top cryptocurrency companies in Romania. I met with their competitors. I had the first love sight with the founders. I mean, we got along. I said, I can trust those guys. They are reliable. Because I've met so many entrepreneurs coming to me, pitch me a project. The project is amazing. The smart guys, very promising project, no-brainer in terms of ROI. I mean, no-brainer. Everything is relative. We are talking about startups again, but anyway, good chances that the project might skyrocket.
And you don't invest?
If they don't check, no, I don't invest if they don't check the box of being people I share the same values with, or people I can become friends with. I think the cultural alignment is so much important.
Wow. And you've never burnt yourself being influenced by your personal feeling about a founder?
So far, no.
Okay.
It might happen eventually. This is what my wife tells me. She says that I'm too good in general, so it might turn against me. But luckily, in business, or surprisingly, it never happened. Maybe I have a bit of intuition, which intuition is also a very important aspect in business.
Okay. Okay. Let's move on to the other topic. So why sustainability? Why green, projects? Why Phoenix Eco and bonapp.eco? Why are you so passionate about, having an impact on society and environment?
Again, life is so short. So I'm always wondering, what do I want to do with my life? What is my purpose? When I will be about to die, let's hope it will be in my late 90s or in my 100s, because with the progress of medicine, most probably it will be in the 100. I do sports every day. I'm vegetarian. Let's see.
Yeah.
But anyway, when I will be about to die, let's hope it will be as late as possible. When I will be looking back on my life, of course, I will be happy to have had a business life, which might some consider as successful. But really, am I going to assess my life then based on the revenue that I made, based on the EBITDA of my companies? I think that the impact that I will have made, and I'm talking about social impact and environmental impact, will be equally important, if not more important, than the money. The money is just a mean, but the impact that you are making in people's life, this is what really creates meaning, actually. That's the first thing, and maybe I'm talking about really long term here, when I will be looking back at my entire life. But I have 3 kids, 8, 6, 5 years old.
Actually, I found this very curious on your LinkedIn profile. How was it the chief data officer, something
Yeah,
like
I like to call myself a chief dad officer. Huh?
Yeah. What is that
Because
about?
I may be considered as successful in business, but I'm not as successful as a chief dad officer because I have zero authority on on my kids, especially my little daughter. She's 5 years old. She's my princess, and she decides that all. I'm spoiling her, and she's the boss. Anyway, those three kids that I love so much start asking me questions about what I do, and say, "Daddy, what do you do at work?" When I have a business dinner, for example, I come late, and in the next day say, "We didn't see you last night. Where were you? What were you doing?" When I'm explaining to my three kids what I do at work, again, am I going to tell them about EBITDA? Again, am I going to tell them about a pitch deck? Am I going to tell them about a business plan? No, I want to tell them about the impact. I want to tell them, you know what, Daddy launched a refurbished smartphone company because producing a new smartphone is a catastrophe for the environment. It requires 77 kilograms of quantity of different materials, catastrophe for the environment. Mm-hmm. It requires, it generates 44 kilograms of CO2, catastrophe for the environment. So Daddy saw a business opportunity together with his business partners, and Daddy launched a very successful platform that is giving a second life, a new life to smartphones because it's having a very positive impact on the environment, or actually much better impact on the environment. And of course, it allows people who cannot afford to buy an iPhone to do it because our prices that are 50% less expensive than new, with a 12-month guarantee, it's like new. And when I'm telling them about the application, they can't understand exactly what the application does, but they understand that bonapp.eco is a good application because we are fighting food waste, and it's not good to throw food away because it's a catastrophe for the environment. 40% of the food that is produced in the world goes to trash. 40%, according to WWF, it's a catastrophe. Food waste, represents 10% of the emissions of CO2. So by tackling this kind of environmental issues and social issues, I'm proud of what I'm doing. I'm proud, and I'm transmitting some values to my kids. And myself, when I'm looking at myself in the mirror in the morning and in the evening, I can be proud of my day.
So in a way, being a dad made you also a better entrepreneur and a better investor. Would you say that?
I think it, in some extent, but I think it's in me.
Yeah.
It's just that I'm even more aware of that. Mm-hmm. And I want to push this logic even further because of that, of course.
Do you believe that we entrepreneurs need to think a bit more exactly on the SDG values, and we have a bigger role to play when it comes to solving world problems, and not all of them should be the best filter on Instagram or I don't know, whatever. Yeah. Do you believe so?
Let's not let the responsibility of trying to make the better place to NGOs. Okay. Let's not leave this responsibility also to governments and authorities. I believe, maybe I'm biased, but I believe that entrepreneurs represent a certain elite. We are an elite. We are visionary. And sorry, I'm not talking about myself, but I'm talking about the category of people in which I am, and they are far more visionary and creative and intelligent people than me. But our community is made of people who have vision. Our community has influence. In many cases, people have money. They have employees, and they can gather their employees around the vision, around the message. Mm-hmm. So they have this power, they have this influence. We have this power, we have this influence, we have this vision. So our power is absolutely extraordinary. Mm-hmm. This power is absolutely extraordinary. And also, we want to change the status quo, because what is an entrepreneur? An entrepreneur is someone who identifies an issue and brings a solution. We are basically a problem solver. This is what we do. You never start a company if you have not identified an issue. If you don't bring a solution to the market, there is no company, there is nothing. So we are problem solvers. This is our role in society. Identify issues, come with solutions. Mm-hmm. So who better than entrepreneurs can tackle the problems of climate change, poverty, hunger, It's us. We have this responsibility. I think that profits needs to come with a purpose. I think that growth needs to come with progress. And I think that entrepreneurs have an important role to play to create a meaningful world.
Thank you. You said that very well. I totally, agree with you here.
We are idealists.
Yeah.
And that's also, we are dreamers. And by the way, I mean, entrepreneurs are smart dreamers. Coming back to what I said earlier, 70 to 90% of startups fail, tech startups fail. You need to be a bit crazy, but you need to be a dreamer. Mm-hmm. You need to be able to project yourself in 3, 4, 5 years, to imagine a business which is completely different than the one you start. But you need to be a dreamer, but not a stupid dreamer. You need to be a dreamer which is smart and which is going to make everything realistically possible to achieve that dream. That's why we are entrepreneurs are a very interesting type of animals. Mm-hmm. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a sociologist, but I think that some interesting books could be created around the inner personality and motivations of entrepreneurs, because there are lots of things to say.
There. Also, there are a lot of things that you can say about leadership, because being a leader is exactly that, being able to visualize the future and, convince other people to join you on this path. And in this sense, what I find very interesting, the way that you actually design your entrepreneurial ecosystem, I would actually put it. I guess it actually involves very strong leadership, because when your portfolio is of, how many companies are you currently
21.
involved? 21. When your portfolio is 21 companies, you can't really commit to any of them. You can't really also be there for all parts of the roller coaster. So you have to attract and, convince the right people to get with you on board of doing that. How do you juggle these projects? How do you, also train the leaders which are next to you, your partners, to move forward with the project? What is actually also your role in these projects? How do you define yourself? A chief of what are you?
I like very much the saying, if you're the smartest person in the room, you are in the wrong room. I like this saying, and this is why I'm applying it to myself as much as possible. I'm surrounding by myself with people who are smarter than I am. Some people are scared by people who are smarter than them, but I'm not. I understand that this is a necessity. That's first. And I think that the key in business, actually for me, it's applicable for me, that is not a general rule, but for me, the key is complementarity of the business partners. I know exactly what I'm good at. I know exactly what I'm bad at. And there is no point for me in recruiting business partners, onboarding business partners who are bringing a value which is similar to mine. That's why I'm surrounding myself with high flyers, but we are bringing big strengths where myself I have weaknesses.
Where are the spots? Tell me, can you be more specific? Like when you have to share about your top strengths and your top weaknesses, which are they?
So I'm going to start with my weaknesses. I suck at finance. Okay. When I see business plans with hundreds of figures, it takes me more time than the average entrepreneur to get into it. Okay. So finance is not my best spot.
Oh, thank you.
You're in the same case?
No, but I always feel bad when I'm actually sucking at it. So I remember, I'm sorry, I'm just going to share like a personal story. I remember the first time that when I was supposed to do our cap table, and I was like, how do you do a cap table? And, I've been in the job of reporting about startups for 2 years, and then I have to sit myself and prepare my own cap table, and I don't know how to do it. And I'm actually good at math. But anyways.
But it's maybe because you don't like it either. I mean,
I do like it. I just didn't know how to do it, and it took away my confidence for like a month. And I remember back then, I was calling a fellow, another pack, like a brother from the hood. I also have this gang of people who actually support me every now and then. I call him, I need you to help me with that, and he did it for me. And then all of a sudden I was super confident to go and to pitch and to sell. But for a while I felt really bad because I can't do that. So when you share that you also suck at things, but it doesn't take away your confidence, I think this is very inspiring, knowing that you would do mistakes, that you're bad at certain things, but this doesn't make you a bad professional.
Exactly. I think there is a big misunderstanding in the business community. The big misunderstanding within the business community is that some people are afraid of showing their weaknesses. I have no problem at all saying I suck at finance. I'm not good at operations, whereas operations is very important in business. I'm surrounding myself with people who are very, very good at operations. In CallPoint, Olia and Jan, my business partners, Olia for Bulgaria, Jan for Romania, amazing operation people. I mean, managing teams of thousands of people is really something. That's not for me. However, in my own areas of expertise, I'm delivering high value. And knowing myself, recognizing my weaknesses, but trying to become even better, increase my level of expertise in my strengths, in my best domains. This is the way we should all do it. But again, that's why I will never start a business alone. I always try to call a dream team with people who are very, very best in their core areas.
Mm-hmm. And still, some people would actually say that being involved in 21 projects is more like a sign of low level of commitment, and you don't have the skin in the game. You're just just being everywhere. How do you see that from your perspective?
So first of all, I'm almost non-active in most of these companies because I'm a silent shareholder. Okay. For example, I'm one of the shareholders in a Bulgarian company named Puzzle that you know very well, the co-working space, very nice co-working space in Sofia.
Yes, another Frenchman.
Exactly, another Frenchman.
In Bulgaria.
There's the French mafia all across the region,
French mafia, yes.
No, I'm joking. So, for example, in this business, like in many others, I'm just a silent shareholder, and from time to time, if the CEO and owner Thibaut needs to have something, I can help him, put him in touch with someone, or if by any chance he will launch in Romania, I can help for sure, but it's very punctual and it's not time consuming. So as a business angel, this is how I see my things. Yes. So my skin is in the game. It can be just a phone call or arranging a meeting, which can be crucial for the business at one point, but it's not going to require too much time and energy and effort from me. However, bonapp.eco, I have my skin in the game. It's taking lots of the time enormously, especially now because it's the launch. Yes. Recommerce, even though I sold 100% of the business after 14 months after launching it, I also have skin in the game because I have a commitment towards a Recommerce group to help the company grow in Romania and other countries in the region. So that being said, yes, I mean, so I would really make the difference between the companies in which I invested, and this is my hat of business angel, very, very limited role, and the ones in which I am really one of the co-founders. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And there are just a few. The companies in which I'm just a co-founders are just a few. And this is where I'm spending 90% of my time.
Tell me a bit more about bonapp.eco. How is it? I mean, you just launched, and so far, I mean, if I look at the news, it's like super successful. Is it really like that from the inside? Can you tell me a bit more about from the kitchen?
No, yes, of course, from the kitchen. So we've launched this wonderful Romanian startup company on November 4. So we are a 2 weeks old baby. So we are just a tiny baby startup. But yes, the start is skyrocketing. The start is skyrocketing, and this is due to public relations. Not only we have, of course, we have a strong team of people who deliver, etc. We have strong partners, but so many people, we didn't burn €1 in marketing, and we are not going to do it in the next few months. It's just public relations. Because we have, with my business partner, we have identified a business that people are going to like immediately. I was talking about love at first sight earlier. We are launching an app that gives consumers 40 to 80% discount on food, whereas the food is still good for 24, 48 hours, a few days. So it's a no-brainer for the consumers. They save money for food that is still good. For retailers and restaurants, you create traffic, you bring them some new customers to buy the food that they were about to throw away.
Yes.
And you make a positive impact on the environment. And you have a successful startup. So it's win, 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 win.
When are you going to start expanding to other countries?
We are really seriously thinking about this. I think in January, February, we want to go fast, very, 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 very fast. Okay. And from the kitchen, as you asked. So we launched on November 4th. We had 197 mentions in the media, in the Romanian media. 197. Everybody was talking about us. I spend my time giving interviews to the media. I'm literally spending every day. I give interviews to the media. People love it. People love this. It's absolutely incredible. So yes, of course, we are going to capitalize on this sympathy that there is around our brand. What's next? I'm about to announce that we are going to close a seed funding round from very reputable investors. It's very.
Okay.
So it will be 4 weeks after the official launch. So it's going to be very fast.
Waiting for more scoop.
Yeah, of course. And you will have. I will send you the press release. Yes, we'll send you the press release, of course, and I will tell you more about this. But the seed funding round is a very exciting one, and then I will disclose what are our our ambitious development plans for Romania and other countries in the region.
Yes.
And we are mostly going to spend this money for growth. National and international growth, investing in a very strong sales team. Because the problem that we are having with Bonapp, because we have problems, of course, we are a startup, so we have problems. Not everything is pink.
Yes, of course.
The roller coaster I was telling you about earlier. We have much bigger demand than supply, which somehow is good. Lots of people complain because there is no more meals on the application. We have 40 partners in Bucharest, 40 partners, including Starbucks, Cora, Penny Romania, Food Panda, and many others. We have lots of big brands. Every day they are putting meals on the application, but everything goes immediately. So people say, okay, I'm downloading the app because I've seen you on the TV news last night, or I've seen you on social media, but I'm not happy because every time I connect, the first meals, they go in the morning. And
Are you sure that we have a food waste problem really then? Just joking.
Yeah, no, it's good. But what it means basically, it means that we need to hire an army of salespeople.
Okay.
And we need to have 200, 300 partners within the next 2 months. So this is why we are currently looking for salespeople very, very actively.
Okay, I see. Because you mentioned that it's a roller coaster, and then on top of that, you're doing all the interviews, and you're also, I know, a great networker. I mean, I must say, when it comes to PR, you're doing a really great job. And I know this from experience, by how do you engage with also with media, how it works, but it takes a lot of personal touch, to build this kind of relationships. I was wondering, where do you find the whole energy for it? Okay, even if you're an extroverted person, I mean, this is almost crazy to talk to so many people and to also have this personal attitude to each of them. How do you do that? Where does it come from?
So specifically for that part about PR, I just happen to be authentic, meaning that I think that I like to meet with journalists. This interview that I'm having with you right now, I'm very happy about this. I'm feeling joy. I was very excited last night. I was telling my wife about this. I told her about you, about your show, and so that's great. It makes me happy to interact with people like you. So that's first. That's the first thing. Second thing is, for some reasons that I cannot understand, lots of entrepreneurs do not value the work of journalists as much as they should. And lots of entrepreneurs underestimate the importance of building strong relationships with journalists.
Mhm.
And they also underestimate very much what they are missing. Because we live in a social media era, online communication media, and a good paper in the media, no matter what your business is doing, but especially in mine, because some of my businesses are B2C businesses,
Yes.
for me, it's a no-brainer. So I do it because I like it, and also because I see the value. So that's why I'm nurturing all the time the relationship with the journalist. Whereas I have some friends, entrepreneurs, very smart guys, by the way, great guys, but they don't see the value. They don't even answer to the request of the journalist. They don't answer to the email. They don't answer the phone call. They don't get it. But that's fine, because there are those people that, again, maybe are more financial expertise, strong operational people. But I think that what I'm good at, I'm not a PR guy, but I'm a business development guy. But the way I do business development is through people. I mean, I'm a people's person.
Mm.
I'm not an HR person, by the way. We say, oh, people's person or HR. I'm not an HR. I'm not good. I think I'm good at but I like to build a quality relationship with fellow professionals.
Mm.
It starts at the C-level. I like having lunches, dinners with CEOs. This is one of the things I do best. I have access in Romania. You take the top 15 most powerful CEOs. I have access to the big majority of them. Without an issue, I can give them a phone call. I'm good at this, but I'm not forcing myself. It's my nature. I like this. No matter what their industry, I'm always happy to hear about their thoughts, their challenging, what is going well, what is not going well, etc. And this level of pleasure that I'm having to discuss with this type of fellow professionals, I'm also having it with journalists.
Mm.
And it's been proven successful. And we know that it's about people at the end of the day. Companies do not do business with companies. That's not true. People do business with people. At the end of the day, it's all about the interaction. And you know what? If you are launching a new startup and you can have a great project, super storytelling, nicely drafted press release. If you are sending your press release to the top 10, 20, 50 publications in Romania or elsewhere, sometimes they receive hundreds of press releases every day. So how come your press release is going to stand out from the crowd? If you have a personal relationship with the journalist, especially in Romania, which is a Latin country, and I'm French, so I'm Latin as well. If you understand the culture here, you understand that people, they want to have this type of human interaction. And I'm nice to them because this is the way I am. When we do a French Tech event, there are some of my friends, journalists, I invite them because I'm happy to see them. But they don't forget. They say, like, oh, Greg, he invites me to this kind of events. It's cool. He's doing something, he thinks about calling me to invite me. He thinks about putting me on the guest list. I believe in karma, I believe in karma, not as a general rule. I mean, I am not a spiritual guy at all. I'm very Cartesian, but I believe somehow in karma in business. If you do good, you behave good, there is always going to be a positive payback. That's it. And I'm not forcing myself on it. It's just I'm witnessing that this has been the case like forever. That was the first part of the answer that I wanted to give you. And the second part, which is more intimate, which is related to my level of energy. I have ADHD. I have attention disorder and attention deficit and hyperactivity disorder. I'm part of the 5% of the global population that has ADHD. ADHD is quite a problem because now I'm 41 years old, so I can talk about this openly. But I really, really struggled when I was a kid. Especially, I grew up in the 80s. At that time, no one knew about ADHD. So it was very difficult for me to stand the school environment.
Especially, yeah. I mean, can you share maybe a bit more? How was it for you actually at school? Because people with ADHD, they don't really perform well, not to the standards that we have set in schooling, right?
I was not performing well at all. I mean, I was struggling every day. I mean, maybe just a few words about ADHD. It's a neurological problem. Basically, the dopamine in the brain is not correctly transmitted by the neurotransmitters. So it's a dopamine thing. It happens at the brain level. At school, it was hard. I couldn't focus. I couldn't stand still. So I always need to move. By the way, I do sports every day in order to canalize my level of energy. When I was a kid, I was doing the sport every day. I did sports study high school because I couldn't stay still. I couldn't focus. And the problem is that sometimes my brain disconnects. Hopefully it's not going to happen during this interview. But you would be surprised. It happened to me during a board meeting with TELUS. As you said earlier, I'm one of the board members in TELUS International Europe. And
wow.
in the middle of the board meeting with C-levels, my brain just disconnects. Bam. And for a few minutes, no information can enter. So I know how to tackle this. I know how to live with this. So somehow I just pretend that I'm still in the conversation. But a question was asked to me at this specific moment. Greg, what do you think? And I just was blocked. And it also happened to be once, and it was during a TV interview a few years ago in Romania. Same here. For a few minutes, blackout. But it was direct. It was live. That's a problem and the reason why, by the way, I'm talking about this is not because I want to expose this something which is very intimate. I'm talking about this now because if by chance only 1% watching the show has the same issue as I have, I want to share this and I want to invite this person or those people who might have the same issues to just to talk to me, and we can do things. We can thrive in life, having a job and being good at it. Having this disability, I would say, which is a tough disability because it's an invisible disability.
And there is also not much education about it.
No,
right? I mean,
in Romania you are
just
not
getting judged like you're. Yeah.
In Romania, it's not even recognized. So, of course, France, Germany, US, it's recognized. You have treatments for that.
Okay.
I was diagnosed at 33 years old, by the way. I'm 41. I grew up with it. I knew that I had the Adhd, but there was no word to describe it. So it's like, oh, Greg, you're hyperactive, you're hyperactive, you're hyperactive. But it's only when I was in my 20s that I knew and I started looking online, etc. But but life is beautiful because at the end of the day, my ADHD issue was a nightmare till the time I was 27 years old. And suddenly at 27 years old, when I became an entrepreneur, my ADHD suddenly became a strength, a gift, a superpower. Because my restless level of energy, the fact that my brain never stops. My brain never stops. I move, I can't stay without moving my body, without doing sport, but my brain is the same. I can't sleep properly because as ADHD people, when you are a serial entrepreneur, it's a gift. It's a gift, but you need to still control it.
Oh, yes.
And you need to maintain it under control systematically. That's why sports help me very much. I do sports every day, 1 to 2 hours per sport every day. No day without sports. If I don't do sports, I can't sleep. Yeah. I tried medication because it's dopamine. So there are there are some very good medicine around that. I used it for a few weeks. It was okay. I didn't have. I was just more calm. I didn't have any blackouts. But this type of medicine is quite strong, not necessarily very good for the heart. My body didn't react very well. And I said, you know what? I'm 33 years old. I've been living with ADHD all my life. So that's okay. I know how to deal with it. Yeah. But that being said, because I also believe in the power of symbols and I love tattoos very much. This on my arm, TDAH, means trouble de l'attention avec hyperactivité, which means ADHD. And the reason why it's tattooed on my arm here is that every morning when I watch myself in the mirror, I want to remind myself that I need to use it as a strength instead of a weakness. It's a daily reminder.
Thank you for sharing all this. I mean, I guess it's hard, to talk honestly about this kind of condition okay, now you're at a point where you learned how to manage it, and I guess it's not something that you're ashamed of, as you probably used to be when you were younger. But I'm still
Ashamed never. Ashamed never.
Okay.
Because it's part of me. I mean, if you ask me to describe myself in 1, 2, 3 sentences, the word Adhd is going to be there. It's part of me. So I was never ashamed of myself. But again, we live in a society. I mean, in business people tend to not recognize vulnerability, and I think it's super, super nice. First of all, it makes you towards people. And by the way, this is what they teach you in a corporation when you have some classes about leadership. They say, you are a leader, recognize your vulnerability because you will be more accessible to people. And so even the business schools and the corporations, they teach you that. But still, most people don't know.
And at practical level, this almost never happens. I mean, I've been in so many situations where people have a huge issue to, show vulnerability, and they would play it out like, yeah, they knew it all along. And actually, it wasn't a mistake, but it was actually intended. And or even also in other situations where you provide a bad feedback to someone, and they kind of, play it like, yeah, they don't want to admit that they didn't know, they did a mistake. We see that, or I see that very common here, especially in our region.
True.
And this is why I'm very thankful for touching exactly this point about vulnerability, and also, stepping forward and saying, well, I have this vulnerability and it's manageable, and I can still, not only you can grow despite of it, but actually that's my superpower.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I love this attitude about dealing with problems. Yeah. I learned it also way too late, dealing with my own stuff. I never imagined that I would be an entrepreneur. I mean, when I was 27, I wasn't that brave at all. When I look back and seeing myself now in this position, I was always so anxious, and I was so much in self-doubt if I could do it, and her going people to support me, and I don't know so many stuff, so I need to pretend that maybe I do know them. And with age, you learn to accept yourself the way you are, and see exactly this superpowers, these hidden superpowers. And when we speak about it, you mentioned also something else, and I know that you're very passionate about female entrepreneurship. And I think this is kind of, an issue which might be, yeah. And I think this is an issue that maybe many women, it's stupid to generalize it, but we women tend to get into self-doubt. And when it comes to entrepreneurship, this could be like a game stopper. Often we think we are not good enough in doing so. You said that unfortunately so far you don't have a female partner. Do you think that maybe you can motivate someone into believing more into themselves because you've been exactly through this experience so far?
Exactly. That's a very good question, because I asked myself very much and for a long time how I can play a little role in trying to empower more women in business, having in mind that I don't have any business partners being female. And this is through La French Tech, and thank you so much, by the way, for supporting me in the organization of this French Tech event called Inspiring Women in Business that we will do next year. So this is what I said. I said, like, okay, there is something I can do here. I can motivate people around a very nice event, inviting very powerful CEOs, women CEOs, very powerful entrepreneurs, and try to have an event inviting the media so that we can really create awareness about why it's important to have a woman in leadership roles in the world of business. That's the best thing I found in order to tackle this topic. Yeah, I might have other ideas in the future, but that's the first thing that I did. Yeah.
Why do you believe we need more women in leadership? Was it so special about this female gender that we want to have more of it in the leadership? Because so far the leadership has been, defined pretty much as how to put it, like a male domain.
Yeah. I think it goes in the same way as at one point I would have to tackle the representation of minorities in Romania in the companies. I mean, that's a very controversial topic, but the presence of minorities in not only in leadership roles in companies, but in other spheres of the society in the region. I'm talking about the Romania community, is also something that at one point I will want to tackle, even though most of my friends really try to prevent me from tackling it. But I think this is another important topic. So basically, I'm just a philanthropist. I think I just want to contribute in a very humble, at a very minor level, which is my level, trying to contribute to equality. This is my culture. This is, I'm a product of this European civilization, and through it, some people like me, we are having these values, these ideals, and I want to do these kind of things. I think I have a role. Again, we were talking about this earlier. I'm an entrepreneur. I have a role to play. So this role includes lots of different things that I cannot tackle all in the same time. But I'm giving myself some.
Here, I must say that I'm actually very happy that we're in Europe, because entrepreneurship in Europe is much more connected to certain values. So it's not only this capitalistic point on the business where we are supposed to make, profit, but somehow it goes with certain understanding that while you do business, you should be also good for society and the world around you and the environment. I think this is a bit more, we have a bit more of that in Europe than maybe in other countries.
I agree, and I don't want to be here, ethnocentrist, saying that the European Union is the best thing that ever happened, but it's really, really impressive how it can drive some people in terms of value, in terms of civilization. And for that, I'm very happy to be a European, even though I like to travel all across the world. And I think that from the tech point of view, however, there are lots of things to do. I am lucky enough to have been invited to this initiative by our President Emmanuel Macron, the French President Emmanuel Macron, that is named Scale Up Europe. And this is a very interesting pan-European initiative that wants to make emerge some global tech leaders globally that are European. And I think this is very important because if you're looking at the top 10 tech companies in the USA and the top 10 tech companies in Europe, the top 10 US companies are 10 times bigger than the top 10 European companies. But we live in a world where data is everything. The power now in the world does not belong to the state that have military power. This is not the case anymore. That have economical power, that have monetary power. The real power in the world in which we live is the power of data. And your data, my data, our data is in the hand of American tech companies. So how can we contribute, all of us, trying to make emerge or facilitate the emergence of European tech companies? That is going to be one of the biggest challenges, I believe, in the next 10 years. And this is great that Emmanuel Macron is tackling the issue, but it takes a village. And I'm happy to be one of the small village people to try to play a little role into this. But I could talk about this for hours, but I think that it's very important. We don't really understand, and myself, I'm a massive user of social media, but I'm not naive of how my data is used, for what purpose, and how it works. So we need to be very cautious.
It's definitely a very long topic, both about data, both about European startups. I mean, I would just, wrap it up in a way that, okay, we see that we're catching up. And what I'm also very excited about is that Eastern Europe is also catching up very, very fast. You are kind of, the leader, Romanian, with UiPath, which gave us so much more confidence and so much more international visibility. And now the next one are stepping in. So I'm very confident that we will see a lot of success stories coming from here and more coming also on a European level, where we can then compete with the big players here. And I hope that while we do that, we would do it with our European values. That's
and because you are touching upon UiPath, there is a UiPath effect which is absolutely incredible, and that I can feel like talking to Romanian entrepreneurs. People need role models in general, not only Romania. Everybody needs to have a role model. They need to have people who open a path, who lead the path. Just like Simona Halep, the successful Romanian tennis woman. Since she is one of the top players in the world, lots of people started doing tennis in Romania. Everybody wants their kids to play tennis. Same way, and sorry for the metaphor, but in the same way, Daniel Dines, by building a Romanian tech company whose valuation is 40 billion USD, he has opened a way. Because lots of Romanian entrepreneurs who decided before to choose a corporate life, going and work at Oracle, for example, that employs 4,000 people in Bucharest. Instead of going to Oracle, you know what? Instead of the corporate life, I'm good at tech. I'm a good engineer. I'm going to launch my startup. Because one guy did that. And this guy is now a billionaire. So this is why Eastern Europe needs to have examples, role models like Daniel Dines. It's very, very important.
And we will definitely continue sharing these examples and their success stories with the community. It's actually our mission, the Recursive. This is why we started the whole project. There is so much we can actually discuss. And I think we'll have to do, like a second episode at some point with you together.
That would be my great pleasure.
Yeah. To doing that. Who knows, maybe in Sofia, once you go with bonapp.eco
it's a very good idea.
Sofia, conquering the next market. And before we finish, I have this final question, and it's actually a bit of a tough one, and I'm not sure that you thought about it, but you were speaking about being an example to your kids. So even if it's, them, or what do you want to be remembered for?
As a great father for my kids, as a great husband for my wife, and for my family, as a great family member, as a friend to my friend. But apart from these communities of people I'm close with, I think I would like to be remembered as a good science fiction writer, because I'm actually I don't sleep at night because I have Adhd and I just can't sleep. So at night, when my wife and kids sleep, I write a book. When the world is sleeping, I'm writing.
It's amazing how many things you actually put into in your life, and it's amazing actually how many things you can combine in your life and how much energy you have. In any case, thank you for this interview. Thank you for being here. Looking forward to our next conversation. And I think we will have a lot to report then.
Before you finish, just a sec, I have a little surprise for you.
I think you're the first one.
Because I like you very much, because you have been a massive supporter of several initiatives, including La French Tech, and because I'm French, of course, because this is champagne, I have a bottle of champagne for you. Thank you so much for your invitation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure being in your show. Very, very happy to be here, and I hope we will have other opportunities to meet for interviews like this one. Thank you so much.
So nice of you.
In the next episode of the Recursive podcast, Irina talks to the co-founder of the digital leasing platform for commercial real estate, Bright Spaces, Bogdan Nicoaru.
I listened to Ilinka and she said the thinking finite or infinite. And I love the second part. Like, why not think what's the highest goal that you can achieve during this life and try to do it, not be upset if you don't, but just be pleased, joyful by the process of trying to become the best version of yourself and the company.
Have you ever caught yourself in a situation where you realize that you're not thinking big enough?
Yeah.
How do you deal with that? I mean, it takes guts, right? It takes
many times.
Yeah.
Many times generally during the pitching process, when I went to Western VCs and I had the idea that our product and our vision is so great, and they were like, "You're not thinking big enough. We won't invest in you." And I was like, "Whoa! If this is not big enough, then what is?" And it just opens new possibilities.
And if you are just as passionate about innovation as we are, hit subscribe for the Recursive podcast on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform. We're everywhere.